Now we have the latest from Nike now saying that they support the players. Of course, earlier in the morning, we had a statement from Ford as well. Eben, just let me start with you. Are we going to see more businesses just backing the players and also sort of criticizing President Trump?
Yeah, I think you're going to see most of your NFL sponsors try to stay out of this one as much as you can. As you're seeing from the NFL, when you get dragged into these fights with the president, you end up losing no matter what you do. There are people that are not watching the NFL because of the way Colin Kaepernick was treated and ostracized. And now there are people that are not watching the NFL because the NFL is letting players kneel and emulate Kaepernick. You lose either way. And if I'm a company like Anheuser-Busch or Pepsi or Nike, I don't want to wade my way into this discussion. I think I'd rather stay out of it.
Just want to pull up a headline here on the Bloomberg Crossing right now before we get back to our conversation. The Supreme Court dropping the travel ban case from its argument schedule, I assume here as a result of the revised travel ban, the third iteration of it that we got last night from the president, from the White House. Again, the Supreme Court dropping its travel ban case from its argument schedule. Tim O'Brien, let me turn to you and just ask you how we got to this moment. I was listening as Luther Strange was speaking on Friday night. President Trump took the microphone and began talking about this issue in particular, and we saw it gain more and more momentum as the weekend went on. How familiar is this process that gets us to the conversation shifting from tax reform, healthcare reform, to something different as a result of an issue that the president here has fixated upon?
Well, we've seen this happen a lot, obviously. I think the version we got on Friday night was the president going to Alabama nominally to be there to support Luther Strange in his candidacy. And probably people expected that he would take a swipe at John McCain. Remember, ancient 3 days ago,
right,
before he went and gave the speech, McCain had said he wouldn't support a health care overhaul. And so it was anticipated that maybe Trump would take a swipe at McCain. But as often happens, he went on free-range swiping. He went after Hillary Clinton. He went after the Russian investigation. And, of course, at the end of his speech, he took on the NFL and athletes who have decided to protest what they see as racial inequality in the country. And he walked into a hornet's nest.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's well known that NFL players have clashed with the league and NFL commissioner. Is this just giving them a reason to be on the same side against a common enemy?
Sure, it's funny that we've created very strange bedfellows as a result of Trump saying what he did. I mean, there are 9 NFL owners that donated either to his campaign or to his inauguration. There's 7 more that donated to other Republicans in their bid. This is a very conservative group of people, and as a result of what he said, they are now siding with the players in terms of the basic civil rights they have to show up to their job and express some displeasure with the way the nation is going right now. It's created a very weird set of alliances.
Tim O'Brien, what is President Trump's relationship with sports been throughout his lifetime? He, for a time, weighed buying a football team, not in the NFL, another franchise.
No, he bought one.
Bought another one?
Yeah, he bought the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. He's been a lifelong fan. He was a good athlete growing up. He was a talented baseball player. He's a good golfer now. He was a fairly abysmal business owner in the USFL. The USFL was trying to carve out a niche for itself against the NFL, the fall juggernaut that had very expensive players. The USFL wanted to schedule its games in the spring and try to recruit second-tier, less expensive players. Trump came into the league, blew that model up, hired expensive players, pushed the league to go into the fall, and the league eventually blew up. So it's a little ironic that another part of his speech on Friday night were business tutorials for the owners of the NFL about how they might run their business, given his own track record is rather dodgy.
Tim, actually, the owners did donate to either Trump or a group supporting President Trump. How will this have an impact on their future donations?
Well, I think that's an interesting question because I think part of people can perceive the Trump base and the thing that got him over the hurdle in the election as being primarily blue-collar, white, post-industrial workers. But he did have, and does have, I think, support among affluent Republican voters, of whom the NFL owners are representative. And I think he's started to fray the patience of that population of voters. But I don't think we'll know until the midterm elections what any of this means.
It's also important, I think, to separate the fact that what Trump said is that they have no right to do it. He was not just criticizing the fact that they're doing it. So I think there are NFL owners out there that do not want their players doing this, but they will never say that they don't have the right to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are owners out there that kind of side with President Trump in some ways, just in the idea that, hey, I'd rather this game not be kind of controversial in the way that it's become. However, If you say that they don't have the right to do it, that's when I have to take the other opportunity and take the other side, because they obviously have the right to do it.
Eben, many of these owners are popular figures in their own right. Bob Kraft, perhaps paramount among those, and we heard a statement from him yesterday in which he said deeply disappointed about the comments made by the president on Friday. As we were discussing with Meghan Murphy a few minutes ago, she interviewed him. They have a very close friendship.
Sure.
Is there any sense that there's a tipping point here where the owners are going to be able to make a difference in how the president approaches this issue in particular? I was struck by his response when he talked about this with reporters at the airport in New Jersey. It seemed like he was allowing owners to at least make the decision on their own.
And we had Tom Brady come out and say that he disagrees with Trump. Another guy who's closer to Trump and has also shied away from any political statements really ever in the past. I think the big question is whether or not this actually affects the NFL's bottom line. I think that will kind of be the indicator with which we see whether owners like Robert Kraft, like Shad Khan, if they're going to actually come back to this later on. And the point is, we actually don't know. It's unclear. It's too early. There was a little bit of a ratings dip. We don't know if that's because of what Trump said or because of matchups. It's too early to see if ticket sales are going down. It's just unclear right now whether this has a real effect on the NFL's bottom line. And if it does, then I may think you hit that tipping point that you're asking about.
Tim, it's interesting that even Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is actually getting into this conversation, saying that this is about respect for the military and the first responders and the country. How interesting is that other members of his cabinet are also
Well, I don't think that's surprising. Mnuchin is part of his cabinet. He's Trump's Treasury Secretary. Remember, in the wake of the Charlottesville protests, Mnuchin was a very overt supporter of Trump's statements in the wake of that, even when other cabinet members clearly had their doubts, Gary Cohn among them. So I don't think it's surprising that Mnuchin has come to bat for him here. I think what's more of an issue is how they're interpreting free speech.